Today, I'm starting a new sketchbook with POSCA pens. Welcome, and thanks for finding my channel. I'm Emrose, and I upload videos about creativity, art, and writing. Today, I'm starting with a pencil sketch here already on page 1 of my brand new sketchbook. I tried to record the sketch process, and it was just a bunch of footage of the top of my head while I hunched over the page. So I'm still working out the best way to do this video filming and editing stuff here. I wanted to create a welcome page for this new sketchbook, and I was really inspired by those color-blocked landscape illustrations for national parks. Although this one is much more simple than those. I'm using POSCA pens for the very first time, which I'm really excited about. POSCA pens are these bold, nearly opaque paint markers. I've seen a ton of artists use these, and I got really inspired by the idea of working with a limited color palette and focusing mainly on shapes and forms. So here it's the whole mountain line and these bold, blocky pine trees. And then in the front, I have a little cartoony version of myself greeting you as you open up the very first page of the sketchbook. I've kept sketchbooks for a long time, but they're usually pretty messy. Now, I strongly believe that practice should be messy, but I'm talking just utter chaos with these sketchbooks. I have one that I'm working on finishing that has skipped pages everywhere and marker ink just bleeding left and right onto the other sketches. I might actually do a tour of that one when I finish though. Well, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. Just drop me a comment. But I recently got this smaller sketchbook here because I was interested in filling one cover to cover, page by page in order. That way I can actually track my progress, which is something I want to take a little bit more seriously as an artist this year. I want to take some time to intentionally build new skills with new mediums. So POSCA pens are just one example of that, and I think they're super fun. This sketchbook, and I'll link it below, it's for mixed media and it's super sturdy. I haven't noticed any bleed through yet, although I still haven't tried watercolor on it. Watercolor is another medium I really want to play around with this year, so I'll probably be trying that really soon. It's worth noting that although I've watched a ton of videos of different artists using these POSCA pens, I'm not using them quite right on this first attempt. Funny how skills don't automatically transfer like that just from watching a couple videos. Anyway, I don't think I shook some of the markers enough on this page. To get the paint started, you pump the tip of the marker, which I did, but I wouldn't recommend doing that again if the nib seems a little dry as you're working. I did have one explode a little bit on this page. I think you just need to shake them every so often. And I should have done that here with the light green one, which seems to be especially streaky. The paper I'm using might also be a little too toothy for these. Toothy, like, does that make sense? Like, not smooth enough. It pulls up a little bit and mixes with the paint in these little chunks. I know that some artists prime their surfaces before using POSCAs, but honestly, I'm not going to do that. I like using them like this. If it makes them dry out a little bit faster, time will tell, I think. So I created a little welcome sign, almost like you would see at a little lodge. And then I am filling in some of the details here. This cartoony version of me is one I use in comics all the time. I always draw myself wearing this striped blue turtleneck because I think it's very simple and very distinct. You can actually see that I made a little bit of a mistake there, and I immediately changed my mind just by covering it up again, which is kind of nice. And here's some glamour shots. I wrote the date at the bottom of this page, and then when I finish it, I will write the end date next to that. I'm hoping to finish this one in 2021, honestly. Now I'm doing a 2-page spread, and here we have some citrus. This idea just came to me when I was looking at the selection of colors I had. Again, starting with the sketch on the page. I'm lightening some of the graphite with a kneaded eraser here because it will show through a bit otherwise. I actually wish I had lifted it a bit more because I'm going to be using some of the lighter colors here. I have a few different sizes of these markers. Surprisingly, the chunky ones are my favorite, even though it's a little bit harder to get in the small spaces and get the details, especially on these lines here. That was a little bit tricky, but I think the paint works just really well in the larger ones. They're nice and juicy. This video is really making me realize how weird my pen grip is. I'm covering a lot of the area I'm working in. Sorry about that. It gets a little bit better when I notice. I think I should probably learn how to relax my grip anyway. Also, if you notice me with different sleeves on in all of these shots, yeah, I didn't do this in one sitting, not at all. I don't do anything in one sitting right now. I pretty much can only be still in a chair for about 20 minutes at a time. That's just what's going on with my body right now. So yeah, I took lots of breaks and kept coming back to this. So I wanted to talk about 2021, the fine year of 2021. At the beginning of this year, I followed about 1 million bullet journaling accounts and watched a lot of other people's goal videos and was getting really inspired. I even thought about making one of those videos of my own, but then I chickened out. Things still felt really tumultuous in my personal life and the world more broadly right at the beginning of the year, and I ended up just not feeling sure what kind of goals were realistic or even helpful for me to set. However, I'm really looking forward to the creative projects I have coming up this year, and I really want to stay grounded and focused on them. So I think I am still going to formulate some goals, but I might just have to do it in a little bit of a different way for me. I know some people choose a single word for the year, and I really like that idea. After putting some thought into it, I settled on the word integrity. I think that word drew me for a couple of reasons. One, I'm feeling a little bit adrift in my artistic voice and my priorities right now. I feel so pulled in a bunch of different directions based on things like what can make me money, what will be good for my career, what makes sense to the other people I'm speaking with, or people who are artists themselves. When I get in my head like this, my art and my writing, they just start to get a little weird. All those voices don't really serve me. My work becomes messier, way more unfocused, just kind of less energetic in general, and I don't really recognize myself in it as much, and lately that's been really bothering me. I want to get closer to what is artistically important to me, and I think the word integrity is a good reminder about that. I think it's a good check-in, just, hey, is this something that you want to be making? Is this your voice? Does this sound like you? Because those qualities are really important to me, but sometimes they can kind of just slip out of sight a little bit. The second reason I really like the word integrity is because it implies like structural soundness, internal cohesion, that kind of thing. I've been going through this thing where my own body is fighting me in basically a dozen ways, so I'm craving that sense of structural soundness. Integrity is a reminder to look for the stuff that is helping to keep me up, even on days that are pretty bad. So that's my word of the year: integrity. On a lighter note, one of my art goals is to just draw more cute stuff, like these oranges. I think they're really fun. And I do a lot of figure drawing, but pretty much no like objects or landscapes. So I'm hoping that by having stuff like these POSCA markers, like mediums I'm not quite as used to working in, I can kind of also try out some new things that those mediums are suited to. So having the limited color palette of these markers is really suited to making like blocky, fun interpretations of objects. Like in this case, fruit. So the yellow color was a little bit more transparent than some of the other ones, and it didn't cover all of the graphite quite as well, which you can see more up close. But with a couple of layers, I did manage to cover most of it. And I'm also going to go in here in just a second with a white POSCA pen, a really, really fine tip one. And that definitely cleans up both of these pages in a super satisfying way, if I do say so myself. And here is that fine tip paint pen. This one took a little bit of time to get going, and it would definitely benefit from a smoother surface in some of these areas, but it really, really cleaned up both of the pages. They look like completely different illustrations once you have the highlights in. This was really like one of those trust the process moments, because before the highlights go in, before I tidy up each little segment here, I had been thinking like, oh, this looks a little bit messy. This looks maybe a little bit amateurish, but I think the final result right here is really striking. And it is a sketchbook, so it does not have to be perfect by any means. It just has to be a good time and, you know, useful. I feel like I learned something new here, and I grew, and I have these two cute citrusy illustrations to show for it. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you liked this video, it would be awesome if you could give it a quick thumbs up. I have more videos about the creative process coming super soon, so feel free to subscribe if you want to stick around, or follow me on social media if you want even more updates. This is Emrose, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.